Welcome, my viewers, my learners, and fellow teachers, to our today's lesson. It is in English. And our strand for today is direct and indirect speech. Under this strand, we are going to have our substrand changing from direct to indirect speech. So today we shall learn how to change from direct to indirect speech. Those are the sentences we are going to look at today. Before we get to our sentence, I want us to recap what we did in the previous lesson. I want us to look at what we had in our last lesson, and that was knowing what is direct speech and what is indirect speech. In our last lesson, we said that direct speech means a speech which is written or given with the exact words that the speaker used. The words that a speaker uses are the same words that somebody else uses without changing anything. That makes direct speech. For instance, let's say maybe my mother said, I am going to cook food. I am going to cook food. You repeat the exact words that mother said. That is, I am going to cook food. That is direct speech. And remember, under direct speech, we use quotation marks. So that's the first part of our direct speech. Then, secondly, we looked at indirect speech. And we said indirect speech means the same as reported speech. Now, why is it called indirect speech? It is called indirect speech because the person giving this speech gives the words, but not exact words, as the speaker used. That's why it is called indirect. Or we can say it is also called reported speech because the person giving this speech, writing the speech, or giving the speech verbally, reports. So it is called reported speech. Reports what somebody else said. That is why it is called indirect or reported speech. Having known that, having known what direct speech is and what indirect speech is, and having got some examples of sentences, I want us today to go straight to our strand of the day, which is changing from direct to indirect speech. There are some things that we have to put into consideration as we change from direct to reported speech. That is, somebody speaks the words, then another person comes to report the words, and that is why it is called indirect speech. Now, what must you consider? What must one consider so as to be able to correctly and without any mistake change from direct to indirect speech? Here are 4 points that we have to consider and take proper care of. The 4 things that we are supposed to look at: the first one, your adverb changes. The adverb changes when you want to change from direct to indirect speech. Make sure any adverb that you have in your sentence, it changes. We shall see which adverbs these are. It can be adverb of place. For instance, the word here changes to there. It can be adverb of time, and in adverb of time, a word like tomorrow will change to the following day. Number 2, apart from adverb, another thing that changes that we have to put into consideration is the pronoun. The pronoun also changes. For instance, the pronoun I will change. We shall see later how it changes. Like the pronoun I, as I've said, changes to he or she. So while changing from direct to indirect speech, number 1, change the adverb. Number 2, change the pronoun. And number 3, the tense of your sentence also changes. The tense changes. We shall see how they change. Just an example, if your sentence is in present tense, present simple tense, it will change from that present simple tense to past simple tense. So point number 3, you take care of the tense. Then point number 4, to put into consideration here, it will be a question. In these other 3, you will be given a statement or a sentence that you look at. Then in the last one, you will be given a question in a question form. How do you handle each of these as they change from direct to indirect speech? So if you put these 4 into consideration, you will be able to change your sentence correctly from direct to indirect or reported speech. Now, I want us to start with the first one, adverb. How do these adverbs change? And which examples of these adverbs do we have? Having noted that, let us go together through the adverbs and see how each of them changes from one adverb to the other one. The first adverb, I can take adverb of place, like the word here. Here changes to there. The adverb here changes to there. We also have a demonstrative adverb, this. This changes to that. So when we shall be changing our sentences, we shall see that this changes to that. Take note of that. The adverb today, that is adverb of time. Today changes and becomes that day. Adverb number 4 that changes, the adverb tomorrow changes and it becomes the following day or the next day. Tomorrow changes and becomes the following day or the next day. Then the adverb yesterday. The adverb yesterday changes and becomes the previous day or the day before. Yesterday changes and becomes the previous day or the day before. And then lastly, in that example, the adverb next week or next month. Next week or next month changes and becomes the following week or the following month. Let me use a simple example in the first adverb, the word here. I take an example like a teacher says, go and tell John to come here. Go and tell John to come here. When I go to report that statement, I will say, the teacher said that I come and tell John to go there. So you see the word here changes to there because I move from where the teacher is, I go to a place where John is, and I tell John to go where the teacher is. Therefore, the word here changes and becomes there. That is how adverbs change. When we take care of the adverb change, then we shall change our sentences correctly. Hope we all get together how our adverbs change. Let's move together and see how pronouns change when we write our sentence and changing our sentence from direct to reported speech. Which pronouns are these and how do they change? Some samples of the pronouns and the way they change. A pronoun I, for instance, I'm the one talking, I say, I am a teacher, and somebody goes to report what I said. I have said, I am the teacher. Then this person goes to report. The person will say, the teacher says that he is, or the teacher says that she is. So the word I changes to he or she. The pronoun I changes to he or she. Then you come to the next one, pronoun you. For instance, I say, you are not going. The teacher said, you are not going. That you will change to be I if it is one person, or to be we if it is in plural. So when the teacher says you are not going, the teacher could be referring to one person, or this speaker could be referring to many people. So you changes to I or we. That's the second pronoun. The third pronoun that changes, we have we. We have the pronoun we. It changes and becomes they. For example, the teacher said, we will go for a visit. The teacher said, we will go for a visit. So I want to change that we as I'm changing the whole sentence, and I report, the teacher said that they. You see, that we changes to they. That is how pronouns change. Pronoun number 4. Pronoun number 4 is me. For instance, I can say, give that book to me. That me changes to him or her. An example in a sentence. The teacher said, and I quote, give that pen to me. That is to me. So when somebody reports, this person will report and say, the teacher said that I give that book to him. Or the teacher said that I give that book to her. So me changes to him or her. Me changes to him or her. The next pronoun that changes is us. Us. An example, bring that book to us, or bring that pencil to us. When we change from direct to reported speech or to indirect speech, us changes to them. Us changes to them. Next is my. My is another pronoun. For example, this is my vehicle. This is my vehicle. When somebody reports that statement, or when somebody writes that statement from direct to indirect speech, my changes to his if it is male or masculine, and changes to her if the person is referring to a female person. So instead of saying, this is my vehicle, you go to report and say, the doctor said that that was his, or that was her vehicle. Therefore, the pronoun my changes to his or to her when you report that statement. The next pronoun, your. Your changes to my or to our. That your can be referring to singular, that is one person, or it can refer to plural, that is many people. An example, this is your pencil. This is your pencil. So when you change that your, it will change and become my or our. This is your pencil, the teacher said. This is your pencil. When you go to report, let's say, take an example, it is in school, then the teacher says, this is your pencil. Then you go and report to your parent at home. You will say, the teacher said that this was my pencil. Therefore, the word your changes to my. If it is in plural, the teacher said, these are your books. These are your books. That your refers to plural, many, your books. It will change. The teacher said that those were our books. So your changes to my or changes to our, depending whether it is in singular or in plural. Therefore, take note of those pronouns. The next pronoun that changes, apart from your, the next pronoun that changes is mine. Mine. For instance, this felt pen is mine. This felt pen, the one that I'm touching, I can say this felt pen is mine. When somebody goes to report the statement, the person will say, my brother said that that felt pen was his. My brother said that that felt pen was his. Or, my sister said that that felt pen was hers. The pronoun mine changes to his if it is masculine, that is a male, and changes to hers if you are referring to female or feminine. So mine changes to his or hers. The next pronoun, our. Our changes to their. Our changes to their. An example, my uncle said, this is our pen, the one that I'm holding. My uncle said, this is our pen. Then somebody goes to report. You'll say, my uncle said that that was their pen. Therefore, the word our or the pronoun our changes to their, and the pronoun ours changes to theirs. So there are many pronouns that we shall come across when we tackle different types of sentences. Maybe some are not mentioned in what I've said, but as we go through them, through different sentences, we shall be able to interact with those pronouns and know how they are. Number 3, we come to tenses. Number 3, we come to tenses. And for tenses is very important. How do these tenses change? We see how tenses change from one to another. And as I started, I gave an example and said, the teacher said, this is my book. That sentence is in present simple tense. This is my book. How will that sentence in present simple tense change? The sentence in present simple tense will change from present simple to past simple tense. And I have an example of a verb there. For instance, I can say, the teacher said, take this book. The teacher said, or the teacher said, I take this book. When I report the same statement, the teacher said, and I quote, I take this book, it will be, the teacher said that he. Remember, I changes to he or she. The teacher said that he took that book. So present simple tense changes to past simple tense. Like take or takes changes to took. The second tense that changes, present continuous tense. Present continuous tense, remember, continuous must have ing on the verb. Present continuous tense changes to past continuous tense. Present continuous tense changes to past continuous tense. For instance, I can say, the teacher said, I am going home. The teacher said, I am going home. When I change that sentence to reported speech or to indirect speech, it will be, the teacher said that he was going home. The teacher said that he was going home. Therefore, is going changes to was going. That is present continuous tense changes to past continuous tense. Tense number 3 that we have, present perfect tense. Present perfect tense changes to past perfect tense. Present perfect tense changes to past perfect tense. An example, the boy said. The boy said, I have drawn an aeroplane. The boy said, I have drawn an aeroplane. When I change that into reported speech, it becomes, the boy said that he had drawn an aeroplane. So, have drawn changes to had drawn. That is how present perfect tense changes to past perfect tense. Then the next tense, future simple tense. Future simple tense will change to conditional. Future simple tense will change to conditional. What do I mean? What I simply mean here is the helping verb will changes to would. An instance, my friend said, you will not go. My friend said, you will not go. When I report, it becomes, my friend said that I would not come. My friend said that I would not come. And as you change the tense, you can notice that there are some verbs that also change. And I can give an example of 2 or 3. A verb like go changes to come and vice versa. Meaning also come in present tense, when you change to past tense, it becomes go. Another one is the verb bring. Bring changes to take and vice versa. Take changes to bring. Let's look at the next tense. Let's look at the next tense, which is past simple tense. How does past simple tense change? And this is where many people get a problem. Past simple tense, when you change from direct to reported speech, past simple tense changes to past perfect tense. Past simple tense changes to past perfect tense. For example, the visitor said. The visitor said, I went to the shop last week. The visitor said, I went to the shop last week. That verb went is in past tense. When I report the statement, I will report as follows. The visitor said that he had gone to the shop the previous week. So you can see the word went, which is in past simple tense, changes to had gone. That is past perfect tense. Finally, past continuous tense. Past continuous tense changes to past perfect tense. Past continuous tense changes to past perfect continuous tense. For example, my mother said, I was eating an avocado. My mother said, I was eating an avocado. I want to change that sentence into reported speech, and I want to take note of that part, I was eating. It will become, my mother said that she had been eating an avocado, meaning our past continuous tense changes to past perfect continuous tense. That is how our tenses change when we handle changing from direct to reported speech. The final part, when we change from direct to reported speech, I want us to look at question. What do I mean here? The first part, whose examples I've given, I've been using statements. And here we have a question. Instead of saying, my father said, I am going to the market. Suppose I change that statement into a question and say, my father said, where am I going? My father said, where am I going? I have these two sentences. The first one, where am I going? And the second one, are you okay? We have these two questions that we are dealing with. What is different between these two questions? The first one is a general question where it is open-ended and you are free to give an answer of your choice. But in the second one, the answer is simple. The answer is either yes or no. I've said the first one, it is open-ended question where you can give your own answer the way you want. And the second one, you expect the answer yes or no. Now, in both cases, while changing this to reported speech, you are supposed to change these questions into statements. You change these questions into statement and take note of the pronoun, take note of the helping verb that will consider the tense. The same here. Take note of the pronoun you and the helping verb are. Then change into statements. Then apart from that, in this question that expects a yes-no answer, you have to use the word or conjunction if or whether. You have to use the word if or whether while using a question that expects a yes-no answer. Now let's go straight and change these two sentences from direct to reported speech. The first one, my father asked, or my father said, where am I going? My father asked, where am I going? When I report, I will say, my father asked, where? My father asked where I was going. So, as you can see, we've changed our question into a statement. Then, apart from that, the second one, when you come, after changing this from statement to a question, I've also taken into consideration. I've taken into consideration our helping verb that takes care of the tense, was. Then there's a problem. I've left out the pronoun. So if you don't take care of the pronoun, then you will find yourself making a mistake. My father asked, where am I going? My father asked, where? Now, who is going? It is my father who was saying, where am I going? So when I come to report, I will be reporting what my father said. So this I does not remain as I. It changes to he or she. Make sure you don't forget these four parts that you have: adverb, pronoun, tense. Then whether or not it is a question. My father asked where he was going. Am changes to was because present changes to past. Then I changes to he or she. In the last one, are you okay? We shall change this again into a statement. You changes to I or we if you are many. So my father asked, are you okay? That's what my father is asking me. Are you okay? So in my statement, I will say, my father asked if I was okay. So you changes to I. Then are changes to was. Because I cannot say I are or I were. I was, you are. So taking this into consideration, these 4 points, adverb, pronoun, tense, and whether you have been given a question or a statement, if you take this into consideration, you will be able to convert comfortably and confidently your sentences from direct to indirect speech. And before I look at some more examples of sentences that we have, today here I have my friends whom I like to call so that we demonstrate 2 or 3 sentences, we see direct and reported speech. Now quickly I call upon my friend, my colleague, Mr. Umala to come and Madam Jemima to come. Then we demonstrate how we can change from direct to reported speech. Now, my friend here, Mr. Umala, will become the teacher. Then I'll be the person reporting. I'll be reporting to Madam Jemima. And let me just give each of them 5 seconds to say their names.
Okay, I am Mr. Umala Frederick, a teacher from J.A. Mobila, Gemiala Sub-County, Siaya County.
Okay, it's Mr. Umala from Siaya County. He does not have the microphone. Thank you, Madam.
I'm Madam Jemima Mumbe from Machakos. I teach in Twin Birds Academy, Makadara.
Madam Jemima from Machakos County. Welcome. So, unfortunately, we do not have a mic for them, but maybe I shall request. Okay, he will give me the sentence, then I will repeat the sentence and then give you. Mr. Umala, say your sentence.
The teacher said, Umala, come here.
The teacher said, Umala, come here. The teacher said, Umala, come here. Now, I want now to report to my colleague. The teacher told Umala to go there. So you can see the word come changes to go. Then here changes to there. Next sentence.
The mother said, I will send you tomorrow.
The mother said, I will send you tomorrow. The mother said, I will send you tomorrow. Let me report. The mother said that she would send me the following day. The mother said that she would send me the following day. So you can see you changes to me, and then tomorrow changes to the following day. Next.
Jemima asked John, where were you yesterday?
Jemima asked John, where were you yesterday? Jemima asked John, where were you yesterday? So I report, Jemima asked John where he was. And because it's past tense, you see, where were you? That were changes to past perfect. Jemima asked John where he had been the previous day. The word yesterday changes to the previous day. So you can see how the statement is given. It's given by one person. This second person reports and gives the message to the next person. So as we finish, let's look at some 3 examples. Then we finalize our sentence for today. We have our 3 sentences on the next slide as we finalize. We have the first one. My mother said. My mother said, I am talking to you. My mother said, I am talking to you. When I report, I'll say, my mother said that she was talking to me. Or my mother said that she was talking to us. So you can see, changes to was. Then you changes to me or to us. Number 2, Jacob said, are you going to the market? Jacob said, are you going to the market? It will become, Jacob asked if I was going to the market. Jacob asked if or whether I was going to the market. And if we are many, we shall say, Jacob asked whether we were going to the market. Jacob asked whether we were going to the market. Finally, the teacher asked me, the teacher asked me, which game are you playing? Which game are you playing? When I report, I'll say, the teacher asked me which game I was playing. The teacher asked me which game I was playing. So that brings us to the end of our presentation with those samples. And the next slide, probably for just a minute, we can look at those questions as I leave you with them. Let us look at the next slide with the questions where you are supposed to change from direct to indirect speech. Those questions are with your teacher. You can access them. Try and work on them out and see, will you be able to get all those questions? Then after doing that, the teacher will give you in the next slide, the slide that contains answers to those very questions so that you can gauge. Yeah, good. Okay, let me take some time. We go through the questions together. There are 8 questions. The first one, Andrew said. Andrew said. This is a very interesting story. Andrew said. This is a very interesting story. When I change that to reported speech, it becomes, Andrew said that. Andrew said that. That was a very interesting story. The adverb this changes to that, is changes to was. Therefore, Andrew said that. That was a very interesting story. Number 2, this book, Anthony said. This book, Anthony said, has very good stories. This book, Anthony said, has very good stories. When I report, it becomes, or when I write it in the indirect speech, it becomes, Anthony said that. Anthony said that that book had very good stories. Anthony said that that book had very good stories. We can see this book changes to that book. Has changes to had. So we have the adverb this changing to that, and helping verb has on part of the tense changes to had. Number 3, how are you today? The preacher said to me. How are you today? The preacher said to me. This is a question. Does it expect a yes/no answer, or is it an open-ended question? If someone asks you, how are you today? You cannot say yes. You cannot say no. It is open-ended. Therefore, while reporting, you will say, the preacher asked me. The preacher asked me how I was. How I was that day. How are you today changes to how I was that day. Number 4, the driver asked me, are you going to town? The driver asked me, are you going to town? When I change that into direct speech, it becomes, the driver asked me whether I was going to town. Because if somebody asks you, are you going to town? You can say yes or no. You can say yes or no. So the driver asked me whether I was going to town. If we are many, the driver asked whether we were going to town. Then look at the next question together. This boy, the mother said. This boy, the mother said, is a good athlete. This boy, the mother said, is a good athlete. The mother said that that boy was a good athlete. The mother said that that boy was a good athlete. Now, this boy changes to that boy. Is a good athlete changes to was a good athlete. Therefore, the mother said that that boy was a good athlete. We move to the next question. George said, I am very happy now. George said, I am very happy now. George said, I am very happy now. When it changed, it becomes George said that he was very happy then. The pronoun I changes to he because George is a man. Am changes to was. That is tense. We've started with the pronoun, then we come to tense. Then we have another adverb of time, now. Now changes to then. So George said that he was very happy then. Let's go to second last question. You will visit the school tomorrow, Ruben said to me. You will visit the school tomorrow, Ruben said to me. That said to changes to told. So what did Ruben tell me? You will visit the school tomorrow, Ruben said to me. When I change that sentence, I will write or I will say, Ruben told me that that you changes to I would visit. So will changes to would. I would visit the school. Then the adverb tomorrow. The adverb tomorrow changes to the following day or the next day. But the better one is the following day. Therefore, sentence becomes, Ruben told me that I would visit the school the following day. Last question. The last question, so that we go together and see how it is. The last question. The doctor said the patient went home yesterday. The doctor said the patient went home yesterday. When I change that sentence, it becomes the doctor said that the patient went home the previous day. The doctor said that the patient, not went, because that went changes to, that is past simple tense, it changes to past perfect. The doctor said that the patient had gone. That went changes to had gone. The doctor said that the patient had gone home the previous day or the day before. Now that brings us to the end of the 8 questions. Let's go through the answers and see how many have we got right. Do we exceed the expectation? Do we meet? Or do we approach? So in the next slide, we are going to look at the answers to the very questions. Let's go together. Number 1, If you had been writing, then you can go through your answers. Number 1, Andrew said that was a very interesting story, which we got very right. Number 2, Anthony said that book had very good stories. You can also see we got it right. Number 3, the preacher asked how I was that day. The preacher asked how I was that day. Again, very correct. You can remember it was how are you today. So how I was that day. Number 4, the driver asked me if or whether I was going to town. The driver asked me if or whether I was going to town. Number 5, the mother said that boy was a good athlete. The mother said that boy was a good athlete. Then number 6, George said that he was a very happy man. Remember, it was I am a very happy man. So George said that he was very happy then. The sentence was, I am very happy now. George said that he was very happy then. Number 7, Reuben told me that I would visit the school the following day. Or Reuben told me that we would visit the school the following day. Again, that one we got it correctly. Lastly, the doctor said that the patient had gone. Or, remember I said the verb go changes to come, and the verb come changes to go, depending on the context where you are reporting. So the doctor said that the patient had gone or the patient had come the previous day. And that brings us to the end. And that one brings us to the end as we look at the conclusion of what we have been doing today. We want to see what we have covered so as to be able to change correctly from direct to reported speech. So we started by defining what direct speech is and what reported speech is. And we say direct speech is where we give the statement or the speech verbally or written exactly the same way it was given by the speaker. While in the indirect speech or reported speech, we said this is giving a report of what was said by somebody, and you don't use the exact words of the person who spoke. Having defined those two words, we looked at what to consider while changing from direct to indirect speech. 4 main points to consider. The first one, we have to take into consideration the adverb that we use. Make sure you change the adverb. It can be adverb of place, adverb of time, and so on. You have to change that. Number 2, pronoun. Make sure you put into consideration a pronoun. Number 3, the tense. The tense has to change from one tense to another one. For example, present simple tense changes to past simple tense. Then finally, you consider, have you been given a statement or a question? If it is a question, then that question changes into a statement. And remember, this question is in 2 parts. An open-ended question and a question expecting a yes/no answer. If it is an open-ended question, you simply change that into a statement, then take note of pronouns and the tense. If it is a question that expects a yes-no answer, apart from considering the adverb, the pronoun, and the tense, you also must use the joining word, the conjunction, if or whether. If you get all these, then you are good to go in handling any question as you change from direct to indirect speech. Up to there, I come to the end of my lesson today. Thank you for being my viewer, my listener. Thank you for attending this class. Till next time, thank you. God bless you.